Hoş geldiniz to the most interesting news in the world. And for those of you that do not speak Turkish, that's welcome. Hoş geldiniz. I don't speak any more Turkish other than just like a few words, so I'm just going to stick to English for the rest of the broadcast. And we're a little late today. I'm normally a little late because I had some camera problems. What is today's show? It is the Access 6-day event. Now, I've got a live studio audience with me here today. His name is Sebastian Hill. You might hear him saying, wow, or oh, or any other wild and crazy things he might be doing. So, what about the Access 6-day event? What the heck is a 6-day event? Well, I actually went to my first event that was kind of like a 6-day event, and back then it was called a 7-day event, and it has since just been shortened because, well, because it could. And so I'm kind of using this time to talk about the Access of 6-day event because, well, in just 3 days, I'm going to leave for El Lugar, Costa Rica, for an Access Consciousness 6-day event. OMG. Now, it's kind of tough to talk about what a 6-day event actually is because I've been to a number of them, maybe 10. I'm just going to throw a number out there. I'm not exactly sure, but a fair few of them. And so instead, I'd really like to talk about my first one. I guess we could even, and to really talk about my first my first Access 6-day event, it's probably good for me to talk about my first, well, where I really even got started. So, with Access. So I actually had my bars run in 2009 by either my sister or my mom. I'm pretty sure it was my sister. In Kansas City. So I haven't even been to Kansas City in a long time. And I love hearing Sebastian in the background. I hope you guys can hear him too, because it's just great. He's eating lunch right now, a very late lunch. And for me, it was like my mom and my sister at the time, they were doing a lot of different alternative healing trainings, I guess you could kind of say. And they just invited me to do those things a lot. And I was like, yeah, because I always really liked the fact that normally I got to lie down and it was normally quite relaxing. And really, when they asked me if I wanted bars, that one I got up from, so I laid on a massage table. And if you've never heard of Access bars, someone just touches a series of points. There are 32 of them on your head. And back in 2009, we didn't know, but we know now because we've done the scientific, well, somebody's done these scientific experiments with EEG headwear. If you don't know what EEG is, search it if you like. But it's a little thing to measure your brain waves. So what actually occurs when you get your bars run and when you're running someone else's bars is that your brain waves actually it's not like you have singular brain waves. You have a whole bunch of different brain waves going on at different frequencies. But what shows up is the 1 hertz delta brainwave frequency. Hello. And really, you want to come sit? Oh, whoops, that was a wiener on television. Oops. I didn't really realize it was going to get that low. I apologize, world. You don't actually see the 1 hertz delta brainwave in anyone older than 2. So this little dude, you're just 1.5. So you probably still have plenty of them going on. And you actually, the only time you see it in an adult or older is when they're in deep sleep, like stage 3 or 4 sleep. when you're getting a very restorative sleep. And you actually see it, so with bars, you see it in an adult that's awake. So that's scientifically what's going on. So it's extremely restorative for the brain. But for me, I woke up being very thirsty, and I fell asleep for 45 minutes while laying on my back, which I just at the time I thought was impossible to fall asleep while laying on my back. As odd as it may sound. What do you think? So that's where I started. A couple years later, I took my first bars class to learn how to run bars. And that takes one day. And then he's going to want to play with my light. It's my circle light. You want to play with it? You can play with it. You're going to go eat? Okay. So, and then a year or two after that, I don't remember exactly, I went and took the foundation class. And now that's a 4-day class. At the time, you could do that class over 2 separate weekends. Now we don't really suggest it because it actually used to be 2 classes. Now, and not that it makes any sense, and not that you need to know it. It's just how things have changed over time. Now it's a 3.5-day class, but at the time I took it on 2 separate weekends. And because I was working, and I didn't take work off in order to take the class. And then after that, I quit my job as a civil engineer, and I wanted to go backpacking through New Zealand. So I went backpacking through New Zealand. And then I went on to while I was in New Zealand, I saw some possibility to go to Nepal and trek through the Himalayas. And that just really opened up my world. It felt amazing. So I chose that trip. So I flew from New Zealand. I think I stopped in Singapore. I'm not sure exactly where. And into Nepal. And I remember thinking as I flew into Nepal, like, holy wow, if I wasn't ready for this, I better be. Because it was a very different place than I had ever been before or previously. And so I spent about a month in Nepal. And after Nepal, I went through Southeast Asia, so Malaysia and Malaysia, Thailand, Singapore, and then back to New Zealand. And when I went back to New Zealand, Access Consciousness, actually had a 7-day event going on in the middle of the South Island of New Zealand. So as I said before, I'd already traveled all over New Zealand, and it just so happened that I was in the same city while this 7-day event was going on, and I was actually hiking up a mountain. Now, while I was hiking up that mountain, a big kind of fog, cold, windy storm rolled in, and I was like, I'm calling it. I'm not going to try and go to the top during all of this. So I went to the bottom, and my sister and my mom were actually in that 7-day class. And I had never been interested in doing these big Access Consciousness classes, mostly just because I didn't want to sit inside all day. I was like, I sit inside at work, I sat inside for school, like all these things. I have no desire to be inside. I want to be outside, playing, climbing mountains, hiking, jumping in waterfalls, swimming, like all this play, outdoors. And yet, when I went to this chateau where the 7-day event was being held, they closed, like, this very specific aspect of the 6-day event, as it's called now, is we actually rent out the entire resort and close it off. Like, no one else is allowed in. So at the chateau, no one was allowed in. But I was like, I'll go say hi to my mom and my sister if they're around. And I walked up to the door, and someone was like, what are you doing here? And I was like, I'm looking for my mom or your sister. And they're like, you're not supposed to be here. They didn't really say it like that, but I just kind of got a sense of like, whatever. It was literally like, I was basically just walking by. As odd as that sounds, because you're kind of in the middle of nowhere, but it is New Zealand, and New Zealand's small. And I just remember thinking when I just walked up there and I looked inside the door, I was like, I want to do one of those. I didn't have a why. I just had a, I want to do that. Now the cool thing is I told my sister and my mom, I want to do that. And my sister was like, well, good news for you because because I had already scheduled my flight to fly back to the United States and I was flying to Denver. And 2 days after my flight arrived in Denver, they had scheduled what is now called a Choice for Possibilities class. So my sister Megan was like, you can take this Choice for Possibilities class that is right after the 7-day event with Gary Douglas, and then you will have the prereqs to go to a 7-day event. Now, the prereqs to go to a 6-day event now are a lot more than what they used to be. But that was all you needed back then, I think. Yeah, within a year. So, I know this is a really long story. If you've made it this far, kudos to you. So, I went back, took the Choice for Possibilities class, and boy, did that class change my life. Talk about Choice for Possibilities. To be honest with you, the class was not called Choice for Possibilities at the time, but it was really, truly, for me personally, a class on choosing for possibilities. I'm realizing right now that I'm gonna go back and listen to that class. I have a few times, and I'm going to again because I was, as you might be able to imagine, I was at a not really a turning point, but I was at a point in my life where I just was like, I hadn't really done it all, quote unquote, but I'd done a lot, and I was not satisfied with with I was basically ready for anything. I didn't just want the status quo. I didn't want normal. I had had all of that. Now it's funny I keep saying I didn't want, which means if you know anything about the word want, it actually means to lack. So I'm saying I didn't lack normal. I didn't lack, and I didn't. I had plenty of normal going on in my life. So I was ready for the abnormal, for the beyond normal, for the different. And Access Consciousness delivered. Hell yeah. I had a great time. Oh boy. That first class was just a freaking rocket ship. I took off and I was ready to keep going. So soon after that, I took a Symphony of Possibilities class. And like I said before, that same year, I made it to my 7-day event in Costa Rica. So I'm very excited to say that I am going back, and this is cool. Wait, no, because that was 2013, so it's been 11 years. I was about to say it's been 10 years, but it's been 11 years since my very first 6-day, 7-day event at in Costa Rica, and at the time, El Lugar, the place I'm going to be at this trip, was just a dream. Interestingly enough, the class I went to at the time in 2013 was called The Living Dream. And this one is called, what's this one called? Artistry of Creation? Art, artistry. Okay. The Artistry of Creation. Oh boy. How exciting. Oh my God. So, El Lugar was just a dream 11 years ago. And it's not finished as far as the resort is concerned now, but we are holding our second, yes, you got that right, our second 6-day event at El Lugar. So we had one last year. I was stoked. That was amazing. And OMG, we're headed back for another. Oh my God, October 2024. How does it get any better than this? So the Artistry of Creation begins on October 7th? 7th. Sebastian is very smart. Oh, yes. Yeah, exactly. If you guys can hear him, hopefully you can, that he keeps responding to me. And we shall see where the Artistry of Creation takes us. Irma Gerd. that kind of just leaves me speechless. This is how excited I am. I realize my face might not look super excited, but this is me excited. Yeah. What do you think about the artistry of creation, Sebastian? What do you know about it? What?
He is one.
He is one. Yes, that's correct. So, I'm not actually going to say, hey, if you want to come. I'm really just talking about it because that's what I wanted to talk about today. And that's what I find as the most interesting news in the world. Because my very first 7-day event, I thought it was just the coolest. We still, then and still today, we talk about the coolest thing that nobody talks about anywhere. And had you told me that before I went to one, I would be like, what? Who cares about what people talk about? Talking is stupid. Oh, but boy, are they fun. They are literally the wildest, wackiest, craziest thing you could possibly ever choose. So I know that only a few will ever choose it. So I don't necessarily try to tell anyone to do it because, well, not very many people choose to go off and just do what other people won't do. So there you have it. The artistry of creation. That's all I have to say about that. And I believe that's the end of our show today. So I'm Connor Hill. I'm your host of the most interesting news in the world. This has been a broadcast brought to you by Access Consciousness, kind of. If you would like more information, please go to theclearingstatement.com to find out more information there. Or you can just go to accessconsciousness.com. Also more information there. And if you want more information about me, go to connorjhill.com. Ciao. See you next time on the most interesting news in the world. Oh wait, no, I need to do it like my picture.